When we are talking about the hidden champions in travel, it's usually about private accommodation or, as we did right now, about tours and activities. But let's come back to the real track. And Maggie, I love your charts, but with gross bookings of about 35.3 billion euro in 2080, rail is quite close to tours and activities, and it's the fourth largest segment in the European travel industry. Commuter and local traffic not included here, by the way. But this giant has problems in crossing national borders, and there are a lot of pretty fast-growing midges in the field of ground transportation getting stronger and faster. So let's talk about the future of rail, and please welcome Philippe Cayrol, is Vice President and Business Development at BlaBlaCar. Please welcome Tom Drexler. He's a real industry veteran in rail technology, former Senior Vice President at SilverRail, former Head of Amadeus Rail, and former Head of Channel Management at Deutsche Bahn. Thanks for joining us, Tom. Please welcome Julien Nicolas. He's Deputy CEO at OUI.sncf. Welcome, Julien. And please welcome, here he is already, Aaron Gowell, indeed. Yeah, we're mixing a bit. Co-founder and Chief Conductor, SilverRail Technologies. Thanks for joining, Julien, Aaron, Tom, Philippe. So we had a pretty good discussion in the green room before. I think you know each other pretty well. The railway community is small, but
small world. Yeah.
Be honest. Do you already use your each other products, and which one of them do you prefer instead of your own one? What do you like in this panel represented? Which product?
Oh, at SNCF we like shared mobility and sustainable.
No, sorry. Which product?
I used the BlaBlaCar carpooling services, for example.
Sure. You have shares in this, we have to say, but you do. Aaron, ever booked on Deutsche Bahn? Or
definitely the French rail train down to the south of France. That's the best thing to do.
Okay. Tom, you're the neutral guy here. What do you prefer? Which application?
Well, I mean, it depends where you go, yeah. So, but usually, first choice is to take the train, book it online as much as possible. Yeah, it's cheap. It's CO2 neutral. It's a great way to travel. Yeah.
Philippe, what's your favorite rail tool? Don't say you're just doing car sharing.
No. I'm actually living here using Aaron's product, who powers Eugencia. So I made a booking through this, and using Julien's SNCF product. So two in one go.
Okay.
And maybe just taking a second, if possible, like who here is using carpooling, just so we know how.
Okay, it's a few. Was using rail, by the way.
All right.
Who came by rail?
We can do better than this.
Okay. By the way, I took rail as well, and that's maybe a good intro, just because I share just my travel planning with you. I came from Hamburg. It's 500 kilometers in the east from here, around about 500. By train is a bit more, by the way. And I tried to book a train ticket from Hamburg to Amsterdam. It was not that easy, I can say. So I had several choices. You see, here's the first one. It's OUI.sncf. It's Julien. And with respect and with announcing that you have the real best prices on Paris, Amsterdam, I also checked this, with no availability on other sites like Deutsche Bahn. 150 euro is rather medium good price, I can tell you. Then I went on to meet a search called Rome to Rio, potential customer for Aaron. I don't know if it's your technology.
Yeah, we work with them, yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay, then I got the right tool. And then we see it's gone. I think it's 59 euro if I'm right. And the best price is surprisingly on Deutsche Bahn. It's 55 euro for Hamburg, Amsterdam. So it's 150 euro on SNCF. It's 59 euro on Rome to Rio. It's 54 euro and a bit on Deutsche Bahn. Tom, it's your job to explain this. What happens there?
I mean, I'm pretty sure not anyone in the room here can really explain where this is coming from. I mean, the main reason, probably the underlying reason, is that still this is a very fragmented industry, that there are no standards. in this industry. I think this is the major big thing which everybody needs to understand when it comes to rail. I mean, there is UIC, there are some very high-level standards, but at the end of the day, a definition for a child in France is a complete different definition of a child in Germany or in any other market. So it's fragmented, and the railways are working within their own, let's say, remit and perimeter. They're putting their own prices on top of that, etc. So the lack of standards, I'd say, that's the major reason of why you come up with 3 different prices here. Yeah.
And SilverRail is one of the pretty less pan-European or even international rail tech provider.
Trying to be.
What can you do better to match the 54?
Yeah, I think that one of the challenges that the rail space has is that these are essentially national assets, a rail line, right? And they have a big social mission to do. If you're an airline and you're flying and all of a sudden you have an unprofitable route, you can just shut down the route. Julien cannot shut down routes. He has a social mission. He's got to move people around. And so as a business, that's their core job. And it's also interesting in that I think the other difference from the air industry just writ large is that most of the IT companies got spun out of airlines, right? So you have Amadeus as a good IT business spun out of the airlines. You got Sabre spun out of the airlines. The rail industry has never really had spin-outs around rail technology. They tend to be independent companies like SilverRail, and therefore small, right? Small businesses takes time. So I think these are the 2 challenges that the rail space faces. One is social missions and a lack of standards in the industry, but also I think generally writ large a lack of good IT partners on the other side that are trying to help them push their product. It's part of the reason that I personally wanted to partner with Expedia as our largest investor now, because I knew they had such big distribution that ultimately that they would be able to really help push rail globally. So for us right now, a lot of it's what I call chopping wood, just trying to get the standards to work together, build a single system that can distribute this stuff. That's kind of our core job right now.
I got. Julien, this price comparison was a little bit unfair for you, and apologize for this, I have to say. But anyhow, is it an issue for you that you simply can't match the prices of Deutsche Bahn in this very unique test, I have to say?
No, as my colleague said, it's a complex world, very fragmented, and we've got different inventories for each operator. So it's a way we can go through that different inventories. And for sure, for we worked on since 20 years, so we've got all the best intelligence, all the best strategy of distribution to give the cheapest fare to the customer. And we are working hard on other inventories today in order to do that. Other inventories of railway operators or also other mobilities in order to bring more people to the train with combination.
Mm-hmm. Talking already about national borders and how hard it is to connect the national booking system. Is it a goal for you to get a better connection? Some interlining maybe, or?
Yeah, for sure, because we think that it could bring more people to the train if we can combine the different mode and different inventories. So, as I said, we are working hard on that. It's a real technical challenge because there's not only one API for everybody. So, every time we need to work specifically, and it's why it's so hard today. But as I said, we are working hard on that. We already got some inventories, and we are working to connect new mobility as ride-hailing, as carpooling. We are distributing since December BlaBlaCar on our website. So it's really a strategic axe for us today.
Mm-hmm. By the way, I have to add this best price was BlaBlaCar, I have to say. This was 30 euro, but it's another form of transport, another type of transport. Do you feel comfortable to get compared with rail? Is it one of your business, or do you prefer to stand alone in your car sharing, your ride hailing?
Yeah, so obviously carpooling is very specific, and it's a unique product and a unique experience. But I think that's the way we've come to see the business in the last 2 years. Is people are not coming for a C2C experience, a peer-to-peer thing. They're just looking for a way to travel from A to B. And that's what pushed us to include B2C travel in our marketplace. We did this through the acquisition of a bus company, which we're now going to expand throughout Europe.
Maybe you have to explain this. You buy the SNCF bus company.
Exactly.
And WeBus it's called.
Exactly. So
it's
we
getting
acquired
BlaBlaBus and it's getting
WeBus
European.
last year,
yeah.
which will be rebranded BlaBlaBus over the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is to bring another bus player at the European level here. And I think for us, that's also how we would get into train. It's not necessarily operating, but also working with the train and thinking, okay, how can we combine inventories and create an infinity of potential combination for people to travel.
Mm-hmm. Okay. It's maybe time to share a few figures from our European travel report. I said the market is huge. It's 35 billion euro. According to our figures, and it's a question how much commute and local traffic you also include into this, so you can extend the number, which is fine, and we have an online penetration of 43%, we say in our figures, which is rather medium compared to other verticals, I have to say. And the extraordinary number is we have an OTA share of about, guess it, 7%. So you're the real kings in direct distribution as railways. So probably some of the audience is pretty crowded of you.
In that 7%, is it include things like train line and other rail specific?
Honestly,
so when we're talking OTAs, OTAs would even be lower than that. Like so, you're talking with specific retailers doing more. But as a space, rail is still a direct product.
Yeah.
So maybe if I may jump in here. Numbers from DB, I'm sitting here on a chair from somebody from DB, so maybe I can bring up some DB numbers. DB has an online share of 50% in long-distance travel, which means every second euro is booked online on DB, and despite the fact that DB has 7 or 8 distribution channels overall. It's the biggest distribution channel right now. Within the online distribution channel, the 50%, it's 97% direct bookings, which includes mobile, but mainly website, which means 3% out of the 50% is only indirect, which is overall 1.5% of the bookings within Deutsche Bahn are done via online travel agencies, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Is it good or is it bad, Tom?
I think it's you have to put this number in connection with filling the trains. If you look at the numbers, the DB trains, long distance, again, Fernverkehr, the seat load factor is 56%. Yeah, so they're transporting still a lot of empty seats. And the idea is really to push this forward and make rail also available in the online sector, in the whole whatever booking process, so you can find the rail whenever it's appropriate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, things like this are, of course, a strategy from the railways. Is it a healthy way to fill the trains, or would it have been better to steer more on external distribution partners?
I mean, the railways traditionally they look at the distribution very much from a cost perspective, cost of distribution. That's why they push online direct, but. So, of course, an online indirect travel agency, online travel agency distribution channel can be cost effective for a railway. But then at the other hand, the question is for the travel agents, how do they make money with a rail ticket? Yeah. If they don't get paid by that, it's for them also the incentive is missing at the end of the day to really push rail in front of like Expedia.com front page to see rail in comparison with air, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's not much money in the rail ticket itself for distributors, but where companies like Expedia are really interested in is the frequency of the purchase and the lifetime value of this, right? So rail in Europe is used 12 times a year. People only take 3 major trips on Expedia per year. That's 4 months in between that. You got to shove a ton of capital at advertising, on TV, on Google. And so anything they can do to increase the frequency of use, which rail is super high frequency, it's hyper local.
So the main value in rail is a customer touch point?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. 100%.
Okay. It's good to know. Julien, can you share some of your
Of
external
our figures, on our figures. In our entity is called eVoyageur SNCF. In this entity, we put all the digital for the end customer. So we've got OUI.sncf, which is the leading e-commerce website in France. We are dealing with more than 4 billion euros a year, and it's about 50% as well of the distribution for high-speed rail, for example. It's about 25% of regional rail. So we are quite in the same figures that in Germany. We've got also a big application, the application OUI.sncf, which is downloaded by more than 18 million customers in France. And another app, SNCF app, which is dealing with real-time information and downloaded by 12 million people. So it's one of the reason of our market share as well is that we've got strong connection directly to the end customer thanks to our application. The mobile part is bringing audience around 70% of our audience is coming from our mobile application.
By the way, just to explain, OUI.sncf is much more than a rail platform. It's it's an OTA. You can say it has a full
it's an OTA. In fact, we are dealing with different mode. We began by TGV in France, so the high-speed railway operator. Then we put, as I said, the regional trains. Then we developed the low-cost trains, WeGo. Then we decided to put new mobility, and it was a risk. In fact, at the beginning, we decided to put coach and bus on our website in front of the train, because we are sure that thanks to that, we can touch a new audience, and this audience will, at the end, see trains, and it will bring more people to train. And then in December, we add carpooling.
Right. Right. Aaron, you get acquired last year from a really huge OTA from Expedia. What did it happen to you, and what is the value for Expedia? You told already, but what happens now?
I get asked this question a lot.
I have to say, you're not that much visible with your technology on the Expedia platforms.
So acquired is a bit of a strong word in the sense that Expedia has a model here that they've done a number of times, and I think this is interesting for other startups in the space, just writ large. They love investing in companies and buying out big chunks of shares, but they leave the businesses completely independent as management teams. And so you get a little bit of the best of both worlds. I get to run an independent company, but I get the support of a real strategic partner. Right from the early days, Expedia loved rail and believed in it. You know, Dara Khosrowshahi, their earlier CEO, called me to fund the entire first Series A round. So that's 10 years ago that they were really thinking about this space. So that part was pretty interesting. And there's a couple of benefits. You know, it's nice to have people you can tap into. Just last week, we pulled in their CTO, and they did a full analysis of some of our internal systems because we weren't sure if we were doing things the right way around AWS and a few other things. And so it's nice to have those skill sets. So you get the best of what they are as a great big tech business, but you also get to stay independent. And that part's worked out really well for us so far. Okay. I'm still waiting to see rail really pushed inside of the ecosystem of Expedia, and they're just now starting to do that. Agencia is now using our tech platform, but I can't wait to see rail and air competing head-to-head so that when somebody does a search anywhere in the world, that rail line's coming right up with the airline. You could do rail plus air, package rail plus hotel, and all of that's inside of their strategy, which you know, it'll take time, but it's great.
Quick question here. Multimodal was such a buzzword a few years ago, and now we just don't hear much about it anymore. Is it just too hard to do door-to-door?
There are two elements to that question. One is on the technology side, and there's some fabulous door-to-door search tools. I mean, anybody here who's using Citymapper, it's a brilliant tool, right? Great for rolling around. Rome to Rio is an excellent tool. There are a couple of others like that, but none of them make any money. right? Really, because what happens is you've got bus plus train plus something else, and now you're running down 3 different transaction silos. What's not there in multimodal is a single platform that you can actually transact and book on, and there are a couple of us that are trying to do that, but it's very difficult to pull that stuff together. I actually think the first place you'll really see multimodal happen is going to be, like with Julien's business, for SNCF, because they actually own the rail line, they've got the bus, they've got bikes, they've got all the other components, and so if that is indeed in their bookable system, they could take multimodal, put it on top, and actually package that. I think you'll actually see it in a place like rail from a rail carrier before you're really going to see it anywhere else in the world.
Philippe, are you operating door-to-door?
So we have a double strategy here, right? So on door-to-door, that's obviously the power of a car-based network, is this proximity angle. So we're increasingly helping our drivers to make a little detour or basically be very convenient for the passenger and create a door-to-door or at least like a high proximity single leg transport, but at the same time we're not going to cover all the use cases through this. So we also want to partner through combination with train, with bus, to actually really map out and create this.
What's the future there? You just said you started your own bus operation. You're making it pan-European, starting in Germany soon. There are other players in the field. For instance, we have Flixbus, which is a leading long-distance bus operator, starting train operations. Do we see a BlaBla train soon?
I think the first thing you'll see is combination, and first, obviously, based on the existing bricks, the first one will probably be with SNCF.
Which is a train operator. So what is the answer of my question? Do we see trains or not?
I think you'll see BlaBla bus first.
Okay, I think I don't come further here. So anyhow, let's stay on door-to-door. Definitely, a railway itself can't offer any door-to-door operations. So what is essential for you, Julien? How do you do this?
It's essential to bring people to the train. As we said, our customers don't live in train stations. So we need to connect the first miles, the last miles to our offers. So it's the reason why we're working hard on that. To answer to the precedent questions, we are moving from our SNCF application to an assistant. We are launching our assistant mid-June, and we will, on this assistant, combine different mode, train, then last mile mode, with, for example, ride-hailing, sharing bikes, for example. We already got some of them with only information or location. In June, we will launch a version with plan, book, ticket, so the ability to make a request and to plan an itinerary, then to book, and then to benefit from the services, to unlock, for example, a bike, to can show an NFC ticket, to continue in a tramway, and we are going to launch that soon.
Okay, which is door-to-door. We have another extremely important issue at the moment. It's about sustainability. We have a young lady from Sweden traveling trains and saying she has flight shame, Flugskam.
Yeah.
Do you see this in your figure already? Is she the only one, or is it getting more and more?
Well, I can speak to it from the Swedish point of view because we actually run the entire tech platform for Sweden, and so all of SJ Rail is on a tech stack we built. And what I found interesting, actually, this is a true story, like literally we just had a quarterly review of the numbers, and I was really surprised by the year-over-year transaction growth in Sweden.
You do?
Yeah, significant number movement. Yeah, to the point where it had to be taking share from something else. It's much further ahead than we had expected it to be. So it clearly is having a genuine, tangible impact in the financial numbers.
The fun fact is she was basically, or actually traveling from Stockholm to Davos to the World Economic Forum, took the train there 24 hours or 25 hours. My big question would have been, how did she book the ticket? Where did she get it? Yeah, because it's basically you combine SJ, you combine it with maybe Danish Railways, with DB, SBB, etc. On what kind of platform did she finally book it? Or did she just put everything together?
What do you recommend as an expert? Is there a chance to get a single ticket to Davos?
There's no chance for a single ticket, no, but there's a chance, probably, again, I believe, and you saw it with DB, with the Bahn.de platform, they have a very good timetable in the back end, and then at the end of the day, you see what kind of trains you need to take, and then you can book on the respective websites. Yeah.
I do think that any of the OTAs, by the way, if they're not paying attention to millennials and this kind of behavior, which is coming out of the millennials, that generation is going to insist upon having rail there. They're not going to take planes. I think the OTAs have to wake up to this. If they're going to succeed, you've got to address this generation and this green issue.
Okay. I think we agree the future of rail is saved. It depends on how it goes together, isn't it? Thanks for joining, guys. Thanks, Philippe. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you very much.